we can biohack until, till the end of time. But if you don't understand the inner workings of yourself, your psychological framework, all of that is bypassing. That is just, again, putting Band-Aids over huge pussy infections. It's like, it might help it get some relief for a day or two, but ultimately the wound is still there. We need to go in and get the cancer from its roots and extract and heal the cancer from its roots. And I think it's something people are very terrified of doing.
Yeah, you better. Cause you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, what should have it? Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Yeah, you better. Take the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if you try it. You're the artist, and the mess, and happily become the new in your hands.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unlimited with Elisabeth Carson, where nothing is off limits. Today, guys, I have a very special guest that I have literally been waiting every single day for this interview, Dr. Amanda Hanson. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Dr. Amanda. It's the work that you do is just so necessary, so needed. And you know what? You're paving a road for me to kind of follow your direction in inspiring these women. So I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and welcome you on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Elisabeth. And I'm honored to know that my work is paving a path.
Yeah. Yes. You know what, Dr. Amanda, I just wonder sometimes, in the world, why do you think that it's so much ran by men when back in the ancient days, women used to run the planet and it was peaceful, colorful, creative. And now it's kind of shifted into a more masculine type energy. Why do you think that is?
I really think that because we cannot harness or completely contain the feminine, there's so much mystery in the feminine. There's so much that is not understood in a very linear space. And I think things that cannot be linear are scary. And I have had conversations over the past 2.5 decades with men of all ages, races, backgrounds, socioeconomic status, belief systems. And men tell me, because I get to these conversations where men become very vulnerable with me. And men tell me when I ask the question over and over and over again, when I ask, what does it feel like to be in relationship with something that is ebbing and flowing, similar to the moon and its 28-day cycle? We are changing and morphing, sometimes many times in a day, a constant death and rebirth. Man after man after man tell me it's terrifying.
Yes.
And so I think when there is something that is terrifying rather than honoring the mystery, we try to harness it, control it, and make it fearful. Because I think a lot of the patriarchal structure is fearful of the feminine. They've also created the storyline where we've become fearful of ourselves. We've internalized it. We gaslight ourselves. We fear our intuition and our power. We make ourselves smaller. And that's just such an easy way to control that which is mysterious and often unpredictable, rather than leaning into the beauty of what women bring and this ebb and flow of both the masculine and feminine leaderships, because I think that is true harmony if we can find that balance.
Yes, absolutely. The balance. I always talk about it because I feel like what is in a man, women have, or women lack, and what is in a woman, men lack. So when you can synergistically work together, it fits together like a perfect puzzle because we don't have what each other has. So if you can combine it greatly and in harmony, it's a beautiful thing. So I hope that, the work that you do and things like that can kind of shift the energy back into a more even and balanced planet. So we get away from wars and fighting and, all of the aggression that is so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. So what do you think is one belief that women have that is just a lie that we tell ourselves?
The way you look is the most important part about you.
Okay, say it again.
Yeah, I think that it's again a really good system set up, because if we keep women so constantly distracted financially, emotionally, with her time and energy on how she looks, there's only so much energy and so much money in a day. And if we keep her focused there, we keep her away from her power. If we keep her feeling disempowered and constantly like she's never enough and she's chasing this train of eternal youth, that those resources that she spills in there, she loses in other places. And so I think it's a system set up so perfectly, because women are chasing that as opposed to building their empires and creating their own wealth, and leading other women towards a different storyline. So I think that women believing that the way they look is the most important and interesting thing about them is the biggest lie in the history of the world.
Yes, thank you. I love it. I love it. How do you help women stop shrinking themselves in rooms that they were born to own?
Helping them understand first why they shrunk themselves. So it's not just enough to help them find their voice and excel, because what happens is their nervous system, their body has been coded. Those first 12 years of life, the messaging they were steeped in, if there was a lack in family around money or what a woman should or shouldn't do to earn love, religion, culture, toxic beauty culture as well, those first 12 years of life, she is coded. And then her whole life is spent, whether she agrees with that or not, her whole life is spent based on that being the energy inside of her nervous system. So it's not enough to just be like, you can have or be anything you want, women. That is like a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. We need to go in and understand the system that you were built and constructed in. And we have to deconstruct it bit by bit. And that's usually a several months to a year-long journey to really deconstruct it, to decide what you do and do not want to build your new foundation on. We build a new foundation, and then we start to normalize releasing and losing that which no longer serves us. And sometimes that is relationships. I'm always in favor of not having that happen if possible, but occasionally there are going to be times where the structures that you built your life on, if you want to go in a different trajectory, you're going to sometimes have to let go of the dead weight.
Yes. Would you say that's one of the first things that you tell women to, kind of move through this stuff? I mean, what are some actionable tools that you tell women to help deconstruct their construction of the way that they think in their subconscious?
Well, the very first thing I ask women to do is to spend a day or two, this journey, I open this journey and it's a 6-month journey. And the very first prompt I come in with is asking them to spend the next 24 hours deeply in consideration of what does it mean inside their body? What have they absorbed about what it means to be a woman, and particularly a good woman? What have they learned through watching their mothers, their mother, their grandmothers, the women around them in their society? What has been role modeled for them? Because until we understand what has been we can think and believe anything we want, but if the role modeling has shown us something different, we understand that we have to change the hardwiring internally before we can just plaster on positive affirmations. And then also understanding, the second thing is helping them understand what allegiances they have in their places of business, in the bedroom, in their relationships, in their sisterhoods, in their communities, in front of the mirror. What allegiances do you keep that keep you enslaved to that system, right? So you can't try to create a different life if you stay enslaved in allegiances that are like shackles pulling you back down constantly.
Yes. What does radical self-approval actually look like on a daily basis for a woman?
It is sourcing, I get up in the morning and before I turn my phone on, before I go into the world, before I source anywhere else, I source within. And that looks like me standing in front of the mirror, not from a place of, oh my gosh, you look tired today. Wow, there's a lot more wrinkles and gray hair. It's from a place of honor and reverence. So true self-honoring, not self-abandoning, self-love and self-trust are built in front of the mirror when there's no performance, when there's no accolades, when there's no looking a certain way, the rawness of my humanity in front of that mirror, that's where self-approval is built.
Yes, I love that you said that, because last night I went live and I talked exactly about that. I was talking about getting naked, standing in the mirror and talking to yourself. And even Mel Robbins, I got this one from her. She says, high five yourself in the mirror in the morning. High five yourself. And so I was telling people to do that. And even just thinking about high fiving myself in the mirror, it brings me joy, you know?
Yeah. And I think even deeper than high-fiving is the ability to stand there and meet the rawness of the changing cycles as a woman, like to be there and from a very deep place of reverence. That to me has built this unshakable foundation for my life, my business, and my relationship with my body as a woman who's aging naturally.
Yes. What is the difference between self-love and self-abandonment disguised as being nice?
Oh, I think that when you build this belief that your only way to be loved is to be pleasing, you are constantly saying yes when your body is screaming no. And then you do that long enough and you can't even hear your no anymore. And next thing you know, you're just in the river of everybody else's beliefs and structures. And when a lot of women come to me, they're at the point where they've been in the river of everyone else's yes for so long that when I ask them particular questions about themselves, particularly like, what do you desire most for this next chapter of your life? They're blank. They have no idea what they desire because they've spent so many decades abandoning themselves to please others.
Yes.
They don't even know who they are. And real love never asks you to abandon yourself.
Exactly. That just gave me chills. I really feel like women, my belief system, tell me what you think about this, is that we're kind of born a little bit codependent because we want to take care of, nurture, protect, and just have our family system. That's like what we're bred to be. And so we kind of lose ourselves in the serving of others, in the nurturing of others, especially when it comes to relationships. And so even me, for my last relationship, I mean, I lost who I was inside of the man, and I just became the man. So and so many women go through this. And so what's your piece of advice for that part, so we don't lose ourselves in being in a family or a relationship?
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe we're born codependent. I believe we are born these incredible vessels with all of these ideas. I mean, think about, being a little girl, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, the imagination, the belief that you could be anything and everything, your dreams so big, your ability to tell people completely vulnerably how you felt about them, not worrying if they thought you were too much. It didn't matter if your belly was protruding when you were at the swimming pool because you didn't even know, right? You had mismatched outfits or, cake on the side of your cheek, and none of it mattered because you were just being. And then I think we are trained up to become codependent and believe that our aliveness, our natural state is not lovable. So we have to contort to win approval, to win love. And that's where the codependency comes, in this training and belief that if you don't have a man standing next to you, you're not worthy. What will society think of you? You're less of a woman if you don't have children. So we, I think, become programmed into codependency, and we watch often our mothers act it out right in front of our eyes, and our aunts and our grandmas. So we internalize it. So I don't believe we're born codependent. I think we are coded that the only way to actually achieve wholeness or love is to fixate on the male gaze and the male approval and the male standing next to you, because that is somehow the true arrival into the fullest and richest life, which we now know is not true at all.
Right.
It's
right.
actually the opposite.
Yes. Yes. So what about when women lose themselves in relationships? How can they kind of come back to themselves? Because honestly, it's taken me a little moment to kind of realize, like, what do I want? So those questions that you ask a woman, I don't even know. It took me a minute to spend time with me,
Well, and that's just it, right? First, you have to even realize you're lost.
Yeah.
A lot of women come to me and they are feeling so depressed, totally disconnected, disenfranchised. And then as we journey, they start to understand the time that they began disconnecting from themselves and getting further and further away. So it's through a process, right, of really exploration of what is it that, and for me, when women are really confused and have no idea where to begin, I have found one of the most beautiful places to help them source what it is they desire is to take them back to when they were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, before they looked up. The average girl around 10 starts to become conditioned to what everybody wants and expects from her. But before that, she has a sense of who she is in her little world. And so I ask women who feel very confused and disconnected, take me back to when you were this little maiden. And if I were to have peeked in a window, what would you have been doing? What was the thing you loved so much? And I cannot tell you, Elisabeth, I have helped women build so many successful businesses based on the thing they loved when they were a little girl, because that distilled down, that was the essence of them. And so women have opened up like dance studios, they have culinary schools, flower shops, investment banking. I mean, it is unbelievable what women have started because of the thing they love to do. So some women love to be there with their little calculator playing bank, and some women love to be in the garden taking all the wildflowers and putting bouquets together. So it is incredible how we take women back there and they end up building wildly successful businesses from that desire that they had always as a child. And then adulthood, they abandon it.
Yes. Oh my, I've never thought about this. This is so good. It is so good because wow, it is. It's before you build the layers of protection and masks. That's
You know, when I was a little girl, I lined
Mhm.
up my teddy bears and I asked them how they felt about their feelings. So it's no surprise that I'm a psychologist, right? Because as a little girl, I was lonely, I was sad, I felt misunderstood and neglected. So what do I naturally do? I create the thing I'm craving. And I did it with my teddy bears in my bedroom. And now I'm making a living doing it, right? So it's usually a direct path to at least some spark inside of her and connecting her back to that magic.
Love that. What does it mean to embody your feminine energy without losing your edge, though?
Oh, I think your feminine energy is your edge.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think that the the feminine energy is not about weakness. The feminine energy is power. It is the most powerful resource that I have, and it creates an edge. Anything that's not sourcing from that place to me is a performance, and there's no edge in a performance.
Yes. You know what? I was eating dinner with a couple friends the other night, and the woman was talking to another woman. And this woman was basically saying, I want my man to submit to me. And the woman was saying, no, you need to submit to the man because submission is power. And I'm like, yes, submission is power. That's more powerful than power, right? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it depends on the flavor. You know, I work with people who are very interested in women. I work with women who are extremely powerful.
Mhm.
And in their relationship is the place they want to submit and surrender because they hold so much power in other aspects of their life.
Right.
So
Yes.
I don't think it's one formula works for everyone. I think that we are so much more nuanced than that, and relationships are so much more complex than one formula fits all. So I think it's for each person to decide. You know, I've been married, it's going to be 29 years in a couple of weeks, with the same person for 30 years. And I would say that there is equal power, and there are times in which the surrender is happening in different directions. And
Mm.
we are quite open and vocal about, I need you to lead. I need you to take charge on this thing. I don't have the energy for it. I'm going to lean back and I'm going to trust whatever you decide is going to be the right thing for our family, for our life.
Mhm.
And so there's a really beautiful understanding of, like, both of us at times want to be in full power and leadership of the next thing that's happening. And there are times we both feel a bit fatigued or wanting the other just to take control of, you know, and take that off of our plate. Sometimes
Mhm.
that's in the bedroom, and sometimes that's when it comes to vacation. Sometimes it's when it comes to finances. Sometimes it's when it comes to parenting. Sometimes it's about taking care of parents who are aging. So we really have found this beautiful energy of reciprocity back and forth in power.
I love that. Can you tell me how women can reconnect to their sensuality after they've been stuck in survival mode for so long?
the most direct route that I take women back is through their 5 senses. So if you are surviving, not paying attention, and you're either in the past filled with regret or filled with anxiety for the future, either one of those are signals that you're not here now. So if we're going to bring somebody into their sensuality is about coming through your 5 senses. So stopping what you're doing and asking yourself, what do I feel like fabric, my heart, the desk here, the softness of my hair, freshly washed. What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I touch? What do I see? What do I hear? Like, bring a woman in the matter of minutes through her 5 senses as she's breathing. That is where your sensuality lives. Your sensuality lives through the vehicle of your 5 senses. So when you connect to yourself in nature, when you connect to yourself in your office, wherever you are, you close your eyes and you're just in that moment through your 5 senses, you will find this connection that has nothing to do with performing sensuality. Sensuality that is performed is not sensuality. It's a performance. Sensuality is a deeply quiet, internal, embodied energy. And that woman who sources from her 5 senses is the woman who, when she gets up and moves, she has an energy about her that is so effervescent that it's hard to explain. She's the woman, when she walks into a room, that everyone feels the allure of her, because she's not in this frenetic energy, and she's also not in performance energy. We can spot those women a mile away. We can tell she's here now. She's embodied like this oak tree, and she feels incredible to be around. She feels safe. She feels generous in spirit, and she feels inspiring. That is sensuality.
Love that. How do you help women let go of fear within their bodies and their minds? Is there anything specific that you tell them?
I would say, fear is usually a lie. Almost always a lie. Like, understanding who placed the fear there, why you even feel the fear, what is the fear about? And when you get women talking about it, more often than not, I can help them source back to the root of it. And usually it is something that's been absorbed from a very sick culture. And it turns out it's usually not actually their fear. They feel quite grounded and safe within when they source deeply from their own womb wisdom. Fear, is more often planted from an outside societal construct that keeps us small and paralyzed and quiet.
Yes. How do you balance being soft and strong without collapsing into burnout?
Well, if you are being soft, you won't burn out, because your softness will help you realize, you know what, that schedule is a little too stacked. I'm going to give myself, even yesterday, I noticed that my team had scheduled so many things back to back. And I realized that's on me. I need to be more clear that I want 15 or 30-minute spaces in between, because I generate my energy and my success in my business primarily through my feminine leadership, my feminine aura. That's how the masculine results come. My back end that is built is through a masculine energy, obviously, but my forward facing is feminine. And if she is stacked back to back to back to back, I can't be in my feminine aura, because I need a minute to put a 3-minute song on and move my body. I need a moment to nourish with a hot cup of tea. I need a minute to make sure all my candles are lit. So I balance that feminine and masculine energy within me all day long. And I think that's the artistry, actually, of success for women. Otherwise, you do hit a wall and you do burn out, because women were not meant to go and produce in the same way. It doesn't mean we can't garner the same results. It means our route there looks a bit different. And it's fascinating, because as my husband has watched this journey for me, he is blown away at what I've created, and the amount of times he hears the music on that I'm dancing, the candles going, the chocolate everywhere, the crystal water glass that I drink out of. Like, he is in awe of how much spaciousness I've created and the success that has flown, like, that has been generated, that flows out of that. So we just create from a different energy. But it doesn't mean that I don't also have my masculine very engaged when we're building back end of system and strategy.
Yes, yes. I can relate to this so much because I was seriously, I mean, my whole life has been a hustle, 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 but especially the last 5 years of my life has just been straight, just, resistance. Let's go. Let's do this. It's super masculine, very, very masculine. So I'm really trying to shift myself back into my feminine energy because then I can attract what is meant for me divinely. But you know what? There's so much fear surrounding that because you're like my body and my mind is so conditioned to work, 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 and just work your ass off until you make it. This is-
And it's
so
not about I work my ass off. It's not about not working our asses off. I work
yeah.
my ass off, but I do it with a different energy. I don't do it from a place of fear. I do it from an understanding, a deep ancient knowing that money loves me. And I will always and forever be supported. And that leadership from this place that I am leading from in deep heart and wisdom, there's no way to go wrong. There is no way but beauty and success and abundance and on this path. So there's a trust for myself and a trust for the knowledge that I share that is greater than any fear that tries to lie to me, to tell me that you have to burn yourself into the ground to be successful. I'm not buying it. That's not been my experience at all.
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. It's something that I feel like more women need to learn too. A lot of women are kind of stuck in hustle mode. At least the ones that I have met, they're just, independent, strong women that feel like they need to just go, go, go. And then so much burnout is happening. So
I
much
know.
burnout.
Usually you see the fallout inside of the body, right? Like 80% of women have autoimmune diseases.
Yes.
They aren't care. There's a place where it eventually catches up with us. As much as we want to try to outrun biology and nature, it catches up with us eventually. And I would just love women to know and hear that they can be insanely successful and also be more balanced with their feminine and masculine. That if they take the foot off the gas a bit to be in their bodies as women, I believe they will attract even more. I'm not trying to build a business I'm not trying to build a business like a man. I'm not trying to be a man. Everything that I see is not part of what I want to build from and create from. So I also understand that when that's been your only role modeling in the world, that's why we need more women speaking about this, because otherwise we think that there's only one way to success and it has to look like the way the men have been doing it.
What's one wound that high achieving women silently carry?
The never enoughness. No
Yeah.
matter how much success I have, no matter how beautiful I am, no matter how many awards I've won, no matter how many amazing things I've done, there's this feeling at the root of most women that it's still never enough. They're never enough because there's usually a wound that's been inherited. Even if it didn't come directly from family, it is a societal wound that's been there for the last 5,000 years where women feel ashamed, we feel less than, we feel second class, we feel unworthy, we feel dirty, we feel shameful, we feel sinful. So we have this profound wound deep within us that I call the witch wound. It's actually all of our magic that has been feared and shamed. So we have this feeling that we are somehow inherently wrong, bad, not good enough.
Yes, yes. How can
People who
you?
have it all and still don't even believe that they're worthy of it. It's a really, really sad and devastating cycle that I see so many
Yeah,
women get trapped in.
it really is. It really is. How can you gain that confidence back as a woman? I mean, other than your mirror affirmations, talking to yourself, what are some other ways that you can gain that confidence about yourself back?
I think that the biggest place that it lives in is like what I said earlier, is understanding the structure. When you understand, like, for example, if you go to the doctors and they are able to explain to you, this happened, let's say it's something very simple. Your cholesterol is high, most likely because you've told me that you eat these foods every day. If you were to decrease eating these foods every day, your cholesterol will probably lower and create a more healthy balance in your body. Let's try that. So the person goes home, they stop eating bacon every morning for breakfast or whatever was giving them cholesterol, right? All the cholesterol high foods they eliminate out of their diet. They go back into get the test done several weeks later, months later, the number has dropped. You make the connection. Oh, this was what was making this sick or making me feel not well. You understand the correlation. This is what we have to do for women. We have to understand that this, just like a fish does not understand it's swimming in water.
Mhm.
Women don't understand that they are complicit to patriarchy every single day. They are participating in their own sickness. They are participating in their own infection. They're participating in their own not feeling well, regardless of how much they do. And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally. So you can't create change when you don't understand the system that has been oppressing you. And then you have to decide to remove yourself and create a different narrative, which is very, very difficult to do. And most women don't want to do it, to be totally honest with you. My clients want to do it. I work with clients from all over the world. And I have women from every possible background and belief system who've completely changed their lives. But it's not an easy path.
Yeah.
But nothing good comes easy. So I think that if you want to create this really beautiful, abundant, overflowing, incredible life, and you're steeped in a really sick culture and system, to get yourself out of that, you're going to need the right support systems to help you do so. And from there, you will create something that will absolutely blow your mind.
Yes. How can someone tell the difference between a hit of intuition and a trauma response?
Well, I mean, I think, I just had a client ask me something similar this morning. She's like, I'm trying to understand, am I running away from success and money? Am I running away from love and abundance? And really what happens is it's about quieting, going back to the five senses and sitting with the nervous system. It's like, okay, are you wanting to leave this really big, high paying job because it is soul sucking? And when you do this other thing that society is telling you won't be as much money, but it lights you up. You feel so aligned. You feel like your most creative self. You are on fire when you're there. That is not a trauma response. That is not you running from anything. That's you actually running towards your self, right? And so even with love, I see a lot of women really create chaos because they have not yet built the foundation in the system of self-love and self-trust. So when they start to feel love coming towards them, they can sabotage it because it feels so terrifying and so scary. Or they've never seen examples of beautiful aligned love in relationships with family. They themselves have never experienced it. So they will look for the littlest thing that is probably almost nothing. It's just somebody's humanity. They will pick it apart and they will make that the reason that they run, because they can't bear the thought that they, number one, are worthy of that kind of love, that they would be able to hold that kind of love, to receive it, to surrender into it, and that it would actually last. And so I do see women often sabotage and run. And that's usually from lack of examples that it gets to exist and or trauma that resides in the body. So I sometimes put women on a hiatus, like a 6 month to 1 year hiatus, like no dating apps, no talking to anybody that you would consider someone that you would want to date. Let's take a break. Because all you're going to continue to do is recreate that system. Let's heal the nervous system. Let's create a new context. Let's build the self-love and self-trust. When you build self-trust, Elisabeth, you will never question, is this coming out of trauma or is this coming out of fear? You will trust and know it is coming out of your own intuition.
So good. So good. What does it really mean to heal your inner little girl?
It means taking her, scooping her up and putting her on the lap of yourself now, and giving her all of the things she never had. So it's learning to become that divine mother yourself for your little girl who didn't get what she got, to become that strong, divine masculine, that father figure who wasn't able to be there. So I was lacking for the most part in both of those things. And so I kept going to those places thinking that they were going to be able to heal the part of me. And until I realized they don't even have that to give themselves, how could I possibly think they're going to be able to give this to me? It's time that I heal that within me. So I made a list of everything that I wished my father would have done or how he would have been there for me, and everything I wished my mother would have done or how she would have shown up for me. And then my daily work for years until the very end will forever be give that to yourself, Amanda. That's not only how I've built self-trust and self-love, but that's also how my inner maiden has been able to heal, because I parented her in all the places that no one else could see her or understand her. But it's not expecting to come from a lover. And this is what women do. They marry or get in these relationships and they think, well, they are attracted to him because it's like the father energy. And then that goes all the ways wrong. Or they try to get that containment in their success or in their career. But ultimately it comes from the tenderness of being able to identify, what were my parents not able to give me? And now my life's work is to give those to myself so beautifully every single day.
So good. I swear I could just sit here all day. Like, tell me more. All of these things. I'm like, I'm doing all of them. What's one shadow that most people avoid facing but really need to?
I would say probably the biggest one that I see come up over and over again is their desire when it comes to sex. I think that we can learn so much about ourselves, and there's such a playground, if you will, of really understanding ourselves if we can step into and embrace our shadow that we often hide from as it relates to what we really desire in the bedroom, like that really carnal, primal place of what we want to be engaged in. Not all of the time, but occasionally. I think there we can learn a lot about ourselves and what it is that we really want in this lifetime if we could connect to that shadow that we're embarrassed to share with anybody, or we worry that if anybody else knew, they would think that we were twisted or something was psychologically wrong with us. I assure you, every single person is walking around with this really incredible sexual shadow side that they would have so much access to themselves and who they really were and what their real deep underlying issues were, and how they could meet those needs if they understood the connection to that sexual shadow. But most people, do it in very perverse ways. They go about getting those needs met in very perverse ways, for they fear talking about it in a relationship will be too vulnerable, too embarrassing. But yeah, I would say one of the biggest places I see people fear and run away from and hide from, but then act out in all of the unhealthy ways that end up ruining relationships. If we could just own our shadows in the bedroom, I think that, my gosh, there would be so much more healthy emotional functioning for humanity.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of shame attached to sex, especially for women. And so many women are sexually abused too, which creates the energetic wounds in the womb. How do you suggest women, heal from those type of things? It's just so common. I think, what is the number? I think it's 3 out of 4.
1 in 4. Yeah, last I heard was 1 in 4. It could be more than that. But yes, it is so devastating. And one of the first things I have women do, again, it's like, particularly if you're single, but even if you're not single, like I currently have a client who has, in a long-term marriage, kind of put like a stop right now, and because she's doing some healing and just arriving at this place much later in her life of like, there's no entrance into that portal right now. That portal needs a great deal of healing, and I've been going about it in ways that have actually caused me more harm and damage. So even in her long-term relationship, it's like, and now this is officially a place of sacred healing. And until I feel okay about that, and until you can meet me from that place of sacredness, that's a no-go zone right now. I've given that part of my body to everyone over and over and over again, thinking that was how I was going to heal. In fact, it's been the opposite. And so crystal dildos, are really an ethically sourced crystal dildos, like Shock Rubs in particular is a brand that I love to recommend. Being able to create ceremony with your womb and your yoni and your orgasm and your opening is the first place for healing. And that's not a one-time thing. That's a return to, and a return to. That, we go about so many other aspects of healing, but we're terrified to actually own that part of our body. And so I think creating ceremony around it, I have very particular ceremonies that I guide women through to set up for themselves to really, one of the words a lot of people use in the industry is called de-armoring, like de-armoring and reclaiming the womb and the pussy and the yoni back for herself. But that is a journey and a process, and it's so incredibly powerful when it comes back into the ownership. And from that place, the woman is unequivocally opening when it's a full body yes and invitation for any entrance whatsoever. But otherwise, we just continue to re-traumatize that part of our body and ourselves and our psyche when we don't do the healing, and we think that being promiscuous is going to lead to some kind of liberation. And I understand why women do that. I've worked with a lot of people who've had sexual trauma and sexual abuse, and they go completely opposite and go extremely promiscuous because they feel like something had been taken from them. And so they just go like into this place of, now I'm going to be the one who just is out there and doing it in this kind of a way. But 9 times out of 10, it lands in a place where they don't feel good about it at all.
Right, right. I mean, sexual energy is, I feel like, is the most powerful energy in the universe. It's life force. You're creating life with this. So if you learn how to hone that and use that to your benefit and heal yourself with it, it's so powerful. But I feel like society really has shunned women away from it and made it feel so dirty for women. So, I try to talk a lot about sexual energy and just the power of it, because I've been able to manifest crazy great things through orgasm. And I'm like,
absolutely. It's one of the greatest manifestation tools. I like to say womanifestation tools, but yes, it really is. And I think that's why we want to shame women out of it, because we don't want her to connect with that level of power within herself. So tell her the story that is only reserved for marriage. Tell her the story that is only reserved for someone else, not herself. Keep her afraid of it. It's all part of the plan, right? To keep women disenfranchised.
Yes, exactly. So what's one of the signs that your nervous system is basically asking you to slow down, just relax?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obvious endless forgetfulness is like one, feeling like you keep running into these blocks, emotional blocks, creative blocks. The creative block is a big one. It's how I know when I can't access my creativity. I know that I need rest. I need a break. When your body, rashes, continual infections, that is your body internally ravaging itself and trying to get your attention. Like, we're so inflamed, we're so overworked and overwhelmed and undernourished. That is a huge telltale sign. But I like to help women source well before the body starts screaming at them, right? Like paying attention to the more subtle things. I think that even catching yourself not really chewing your food and having this belief that you don't even have time to actually eat and enjoy the plate in front of you, inhaling food constantly, eating on the run, those types of things over and over again, I think is your body saying, whoa, can we carve out like 15 minutes to actually eat this meal and enjoy it and let our body like feel nourished by this? I think it's those really small and subtle things that will help you prevent arriving at burnout, and scheduling lots of dance breaks in between meetings.
I love it. Breaks. I love it. Every time I'm feeling really crappy in the mornings or anything, I'll just put on my headphones, walk my dog, and go dance down the street.
Honestly, and music is the most unbelievable life-giving energy.
Yes, it is. I always tell my group of people, like, just get out and dance, move your body, just move your body in the sun.
Yes. Man, oh, yes, the sun, another incredible source for me.
Yes, absolutely. What's one truth that you wish every woman knew about her mission?
That the fact that you have a dream or a desire, even if it's very quiet or it feels childish or it feels futile, the fact that you have it and it lives inside of you means it was meant to be coming through you. It is your gift to the world. One example I can use about this is my daughter. She's 22 now, and she's always had this beautiful gift, just naturally, not professionally trained, of singing and her voice. And I said to her a couple of years ago, whether or not you ever decide to do anything with it, use it professionally, is neither here nor there to me. But the fact that you've been gifted that profound voice,
Mm.
the love of using it, but the shame or embarrassment that it might not be good enough, so you hold it up and keep it to yourself, is actually unfair. It's unfair that you have access to something that healing and beautiful that you could share with the world and you choose not to. And in many ways, I even think it's selfish, right? So it's like women have these powerful gifts inside of them, and to not, especially in times where our world is suffering and bleeding out, to fall into the trap that you don't know enough, or you're not good enough, or you're not worthy enough, or you don't deserve to even like speak about it, I think is just a huge big lie and a trap, because we need the gifts of women. If it's inside of you, it's because it was meant for you to be into the world as an offering.
Yes, yes, yes. How do you stay anchored in purpose when your life gets so chaotic?
I mean, for me, my purpose, being attached to the why, you have to be attached to the why so big and so deep that there's absolutely nothing that would ever steer you off of that course. So for me, my why is so big, it is beyond even explanation. I couldn't even contain it in a book, my why. So the why is so big that there's nothing that could come at me that would ever throw me off course. I am so squeaky clean and crystal clear on the mission that haters can come, death threats can come, financial up and downs could come, anything can come. And I know my why. I know the vision, and I am sharp and focused. So because things do come that will try to steer you off course, and only those who are really connected deeply to their why will be able to stay the course.
Yeah, yeah. I tell people to always start with the end in mind when you have a goal or something that you're trying to work towards. So you have that vision of where you want to end up, or it's like you're taking a road trip and you have no destination. So always, understand where you want to end up, and the why is so important. Why do you want to end up there? And then that's what you focus on. And then I tell people to, every action that they take needs to feed into that goal so they don't get distracted. Yes, because a lot of us can get so, our minds are amazing things, especially women's minds. I can think about 1,000 things while doing 50 other things. It's incredible, but it can also make us confused and a little bit all over the place sometimes. So I tell people just, each action, just feed it into that pyramid tip.
Absolutely. And sometimes that initial goal that you set on the path, this has been my experience, on the path and on the journey, the goal has expanded and changed along the way. I'm like, oh, I was playing way too small when I set out for that goal. I see something way bigger than that. So, we can adjust on the path.
What's your definition of living a legendary life?
Living the most authentic version, never trying to be somebody else, never trying to fall into some conglomerate of what you believe is supposed to be the way. I think what we are desperate for in this world, we are desperate for originals. We are desperate for truly authentic, original human beings. I think we are so exhausted by the cookie cutter copy and paste of people. So I think that's the most audacious way to live, is to be wildly, unapologetically authentic, because that's what we're really malnourished for.
Yes. What is your go-to technique for breaking out of the self-sabotage habits that we have sometimes?
I think, I don't really have a go-to technique. It's more about when you are living very aware. So it's almost like, I think of it as well as like having people almost come a little bit up above themselves and observe themselves. Observing your interactions, or even after the fact, observing your interactions and being curious, like a lot of curiosity versus being critical. Like, that's interesting. I noticed that I said that, but what I really meant was this. I wonder why I said that instead of what I really felt. But when you're so in it, like the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes we have to like extract ourselves a bit and observe the situation. And if you feel like you're in this pattern of self-sabotaging, sometimes pausing and really just noting the situation you're in before you sabotage yourself, and kind of really doing that 360-degree view of like, okay, what's really happening right here? And if I were to source from the truest place deep within the well of me, what would I say? What would I do? So it's really creating, I mean, that's a really high level skill set, being able to catch yourself as you're about to self-sabotage. And that again, that comes well after you've built this self-trust and ability to hold yourself through those kinds of self-analysis moments.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Amanda, for you, what is your biggest personal breakthrough that you've had in the last year?
In the past year,
Mm-hmm.
that the sky is not even the limit for women.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I really, really do. I really, I want women to find their strength and their power again. I feel like it's just so suppressed, and there's just a lot of fear, And I talk a lot about techniques and biohacking tools because I feel like a lot of the fear, we can say fear be gone, but it's still in our bodies. So I always, what do you think about biohacking and using different technologies to kind of work some of that stuff out of your system?
I was just part of the biohacking, the movie that's coming out by Lully Productions. It's going to be premiering on Amazon in August, Amazon Prime. And the documentary is called Shield, and it's all about biohacking, if you will, for women. And the reason that I said yes to it is because when I looked at all the topics that they were talking about, mine has nothing to do with supplements or red light therapy or nutrition or exercise. And while all of those are wonderful and I think people can utilize them, none of that means anything if you are disconnected from your emotional energy. So I teach practices that are about really getting into the depths of the feelings, which is way beyond the scope of this podcast conversation, but way into the depths of the emotion, because only there do we actually create change. So there are very particular somatic practices that I teach, because we can biohack until, till the end of time. But if you don't understand the inner workings of yourself, your psychological framework, all of that is bypassing. That is just, again, putting Band-Aids over huge pussy infections. It's like, it might help it get some relief for a day or two, but ultimately the wound is still there. We need to go in and get the cancer from its roots and extract and heal the cancer from its roots. And I think it's something people are very terrified of doing. And so we put all these fancy labels on it and we're like, oh, I have this 4-hour morning routine, but yet people still are missing the depths of what's really aching.
I love that. I never thought about it like that because, it is kind of like Band-Aids. If you're not healed at the root of yourself, then you're just kind of trying to build off of something that has no foundation.
Exactly.
Okay. If you had a mic to the world right now, what is the message that every soul needs to hear?
Every soul needs to hear that you were born with everything you needed to know about you living this incredible life. So all we do is we remove the patriarchal rubble that you've been buried under. So every single human, man or woman, has been placed in the system where there's endless roles and expectations that have been placed on them that actually, while some of them may be helpful, a lot of them are destroying their lives. And so the work that I do with people is we're just removing all the patriarchal rubble piece by piece by piece so that you can find the wholeness of who you came into this world as. Everything you need is within you. Everything. We just have to remove all the poison and all the noise so you can feel and hear yourself again.
Yes. Dr. Amanda, thank you so much for all of your amazing wisdom. I have so much respect for everything that you do. And I'm just so grateful that you were here today with me. Where can people find you and what do you have going on?
Yes, Midlife Muse would be the best place to find me on Instagram or on TikTok. And my website is amandahanson.com. I have a variety of things going on. The most recent, I don't know when this will air, but I think if you stay close to the website, if you stay close to my platforms, I have a really huge live event coming up in December 5th and 6th, and tickets are going to be going on sale. It's for women only. This is the third big one that I'm running, and it's called Magnetic, and that will be happening for 2 full days of life-changing, profound initiation for women in Phoenix, Arizona.
Awesome. Congratulations. I need to tap into that. I need the information. I will keep a look.
Keep an eye out. Thank you so much for having me, Elisabeth. It's really been a joy.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Amanda. I appreciate you. And until next time, guys, this was another episode of Unlimited. Peace, peace.
Is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and don't necessarily reflect those of the producers or affiliates. We do not guarantee the accuracy of the content. Please verify information and seek professional advice when needed. By listening, you agree not to hold us liable for any actions taken based on this content. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoy the episodes ahead. Love unlimited, feel unlimited.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to stay on this journey with me. There is so much more ahead. Courses, mentoring, healing circles, retreats, safe spaces to heal and grow. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and stay connected. We are not alone. In this journey, we're on it together.